When did everyone suddenly become an expert? Turn on the TV, expert. Open up a podcast, expert. Log on to social media, there's a panel of 3 experts debating other experts, and the comments are full of other experts. And here's the thing, if everybody's an expert, then nobody is. Let's get teed off. Welcome. I'm James at the Back 9 Life Studio, bringing you this episode of Teed Off, the weekly series where I get into the events of today with no filter, no fluff, and no political affiliations. What we're talking about tonight is the modern day pandemic of expertise-titis. Everybody seems to have it. Because apparently in 2026, if you own a microphone, a ring light, and have a Wi-Fi connection, you're a specialist. Doesn't matter if you've done the work. Doesn't matter if you've never built anything. Doesn't matter if you've been wrong for 5 straight years. You wrote a book, you posted a thread, or you went viral once, and suddenly you are a distinguished thought leader. So tonight we're going to ask one very precise question. Who actually knows what they're talking about? And why are we so desperate to pretend that everybody does? And we'll start right off the bat with the comment of the week. Okay, this week's comment comes from Cobra Dalton 8375. First of all, phenomenal name. I really love that. I mean, it sounds like a minor character from a low-budget Marvel movie. Good Cobra avatar, too. And I'm being serious, too. I really like it. I'm not being sarcastic with you. But anyway, Cobra says, leadership. So I guess being called Hitler, Gestapo, Nazi, etc. is get real. Obama, Hillary, Kamala, Walz, Frey, Newsom, Karen Bass, Brandon Johnson, J.B. Pritzker, etc. did the same. Why you not passing their names here? Hypocrite. Okay, thank you for the comment, Cobra. I'm glad that I can address it. Now, Cobra's comment here came on a 45-second YouTube short video that I did saying that Trump perfected the art of political name calling. Yes, 45 seconds. That is less time than to microwave a burrito. And from that, we have conducted a full psychological evaluation of me, my catalog, my intent, my political leanings, my childhood, and probably my cholesterol. That's impressive for 45 seconds. Cobra didn't watch the full segment. He didn't watch a full episode. He didn't look at the 26 other rants in my Teed Off library. He saw one short and confidently declared, oh yes, I understand this man completely. That's not criticism. That is modern day expertise. And that's exactly what we're talking about tonight. Thanks for the comment, Cobra. That was some toxic venom. Glad I had the anecdote. Yes. Let's move on. Every 4 years, I become a world-class authority on curling. I don't know what it is about the Winter Olympics, but all of a sudden I have opinions on a sport that I've never played. Not just casual opinions. Strong, technical, broadcast-ready opinions. That rock had too much weight. She released too early. The sweepers, they weren't communicating. Buddy, I didn't even know what a house was last week. Every 4 years I do this. I sit down, I watch curling, I Google the rules, and then all of a sudden I think I know strategy. And for about 10 days, I'm convinced that I could coach Team USA. Then 4 years go by and I forget everything. I forget what a hammer is. I forget the scoring. I forget why they're yelling, hard, hard, hard. And curling is just one, too. Figure skating, I'm suddenly grading landings. Ski jumping. Oh yeah, no, the angle was off. It's off. You had to be more like that. Speed skating. They went too fast on the first lap. Yeah. I haven't ice skated since Reagan was in office. But for 14 days, I'm still the authority. And it's harmless whenever it's curling. I mean, nobody gets hurt because I think I understand hammer strategy. But what we are doing, what we are training ourselves to do is fast-paced expertise. A headline drops, a clip goes viral, and by dinner, we have a take. Not a thought, not a question, a take. And it sounds confident. The internet makes you feel informed. You watch 2 breakdown videos, skim 3 comments, and hear 1 confident podcast, and so all of a sudden your brain goes, I understand this. But true understanding is a slow process. Expertise is boring. It requires years, repetition, being wrong, humility. Curling lets us play with that. The news, though, it lets us weaponize it. And I'm not above this. I do it. You do it. We all do it. And the Olympics just expose it because it's funny. I mean, for 2 weeks, I am a biomechanics professor. And then after they're done, I forget what a hog line is. That should humble me. But it doesn't. Not me, not anybody. And I will bring this right around to the modern day reason why we aren't humbled. Because the algorithms reward confidence, not caution. Social media doesn't reward, I don't know. It rewards, here's what's really going on. The news is the same way. Politics, same. Best chili recipe, same. And the faster you say it, the louder you say it, the more certain you sound. The more authority you are granted. Not earned, granted. We have confused access to information with mastery of information. Google made facts accessible. It didn't make us wise. And the Winter Olympics are just the safe sandbox version of that. Maybe the most honest thing any one of us could say is maybe I just don't know enough. But that doesn't trend. The Nielsen ratings don't reward that. So instead, I'll see you in 4 years, and I'll be back with my curling analysis. Time for some back nine loving. You know who else is an expert? Single people over 40. We've read the books, we've listened to the podcast, we watched therapists on YouTube. Now we're diagnosing people on a first date like we're wearing a lab coat and have a clipboard. At 25, we just liked someone. At 45, we're dating like we're reviewing game film. I'm in the same boat. For about 2 weeks after I read a relationship book, I'm dangerous. And then I go on an actual date and I realize that I'm just a human being that is hoping that this just doesn't get awkward. Here's the truth. You don't need to be an expert at love. You need to be kind, a little self-aware, and mature enough to say, I might be wrong. Yes, take advice. Just don't turn it into a courtroom, because nobody is going to win if a savvy lawyer shows up with a know-it-all opening statement. Do you ever notice how fast experts appear? Breaking news hits at 2:14. At 2:22, there's already a split screen. Anchor on one side, expert on the other. And I'm always wondering, where did they find this person? I mean, is there a warehouse somewhere? Big sign outside that says emergency panelist open 24 hours? Because most of the time, the credentials on these people are pretty thin. Political analyst, cultural strategist, former advisor. These titles don't exactly exude confidence. I'm not saying that real experts don't exist, because they do. But they are usually doing the work. They're not just sitting by the phone with a blazer on. Here's what actually makes someone an expert on cable news. They answer the phone. They can speak in complete sentences. They sound confident. That's the secret sauce. Confidence means credentials every time on television. If you hesitate, you're out. If you say, I don't know yet, you'll never be invited back. Because television doesn't reward uncertainty. It rewards speed, clarity, and confidence. Producers aren't asking who understands this the deepest. They're asking who can explain this cleanly in 45 seconds and not freeze. That is performance expertise, not subject expertise. And here's the thing about it. We respond to tone more than we do truth. If someone says something calmly, confidently, and with good lighting, we assume that as authority and take their knowledge as gospel, even if they are just as confused as the rest of us. And I get it. News has to move fast or face irrelevance. They can't wait 6 months for a peer review or even a few hours for an accurate fact check. They have to go to air. So it is on us as the viewers to filter. And maybe we should not assume availability equals mastery. Because just because someone is on TV does not mean that they know more. It just means they answered the phone. Let's move right into the Nostalgic News Minute. Good evening. On April 10th, 1912, the White Star Line launched today what maritime authorities are labeling as the most advanced passenger vessel ever constructed. The RMS Titanic departed today from Southampton on its maiden voyage to New York. Engineers described the vessel as practically unsinkable, citing her 16 watertight compartments and state-of-the-art design. Company officials report smooth sailing conditions across the Atlantic, and passengers are expected in New York next week. It seems confidence remains high. I'm James Roberts, and this has been your Nostalgic News Minute. Good night. All right, let's flip this around. Instead of complaining about who gets labeled an expert, maybe we should define what one actually is. Because confidence isn't it, speed isn't it, and being on television definitely isn't it. So what is? Well, I have 3 things that must be there before anybody can be called an expert. Number 1, an expert has skin in the game. If you've never been wrong publicly, you're not an expert. Real experts have receipts. They've made predictions. They've built things. They've taken hits. If a financial expert has never managed real money, sorry. If a relationship expert has never sustained a relationship, sorry. If a fitness expert has never trained anybody but themselves, sorry. Yeah, I can't call them guru because that's not expertise. That is commentary. You see, experts have consequences attached to their opinions. Number 2, an expert changes their mind. This is huge because if someone never updates their stance when new evidence comes along, they are not an expert. They are a mascot. Real expertise constantly evolves. The best surgeons revise techniques. The best investors adjust models. The best coaches, they scrap game plans at halftime. If someone sounds exactly the same in 2026 as they did in 2006, that's not conviction. That is branding. Number 3, an expert can explain things simply. And this might be the biggest one because if someone can't explain what they're saying without hiding behind a bunch of jargon, they probably don't understand it. The smartest people that I've ever met, with carpenters, directors, professors, business owners, they can explain complex things and make it feel clear. Not flashy, not dramatic, not like a salesman. Clear. And if you walk away more confused than whenever you started, that's not expertise. That's that somebody just gave you a performance. And here's the kicker. Real experts are usually the most unassuming person in the room. They're not racing to a microphone. They're not interrupting people. They're not posting every 5 minutes. They're working. They're studying. They're refining. And when they do speak, it's measured. So maybe the question isn't where do they find these experts? Maybe the better question is who is silently doing the work while everyone else is talking, because that is your expert. Let's get right into the hack trick. If we are tired of fake experts, how do we not become one? With 3 little hacks, of course. Track your predictions. Write them down. What do you think is going to happen in markets? What do you think is going to happen in sports? What do you think is going to happen in life? Then go back 6 months later and check yourself. Experts just don't talk, they audit. Hack number 2. Teach what you are learning, not what you mastered 20 years ago. What you are figuring out right now. If you can't explain it simply yet, you don't understand it yet. Hack number 3, limit your certainty. Instead of saying this will happen, say instead, here's what would change my mind. That one sentence separates thinkers from pundits. That's it. Track it, teach it, temper it. Do that long enough and you won't need a lower third graphic to call yourself an expert. You know, I think this whole expert thing bothers people so much, not because experts exist, but because we've quietly handed over judgment to them. We've outsourced thinking. We've outsourced decision making. We've outsourced responsibility. And whenever you're 25, that makes a little bit of sense. But whenever you're in the backside of life, you've lived long enough to know better. You've seen countless predictions fail. You've seen trends come and go. You've seen confident people be spectacularly wrong. And you've seen quiet people be consistently right. Here's what I'm learning. Reinvention doesn't mean ignoring advice. It means filtering it. You listen, but you test. You observe, but you verify. You respect experience, but you build your own. Because at some point, you are the common denominator in your life. It's your health, your finances, your relationships, your career pivots. No panel is coming. No breaking news banner is going to solve it. No lower third is going to come across the screen and say, James, leading authority on his life. But maybe there should be. Because the only experience that actually compounds is lived experience applied thoughtfully. And here's the balance. Don't ignore people that know more than you. If someone has been building houses for 30 years, listen. If someone's invested through 5 recessions, listen. If someone stayed married for 40 years, listen. But don't confuse volume with wisdom. Don't confuse visibility with credibility. And don't confuse certainty with competence. Real expertise feels different. It's slower. It's calmer. It leaves room for I may be wrong. And maybe that's the shift in the back nine of this great big life. When you're young, you chase loud voices. When you mature, you develop discernment. You stop asking who sounds the smartest and start asking who has actually done the work. And more importantly, have I? That is what expertise looks like. Not performance, practice. So maybe the goal isn't to be the expert that we see on television. Maybe it is to quietly become the expert in our own lane. To build enough pattern recognition that we don't panic every time some expert yells crisis. To develop enough humility that you can update your beliefs without feeling threatened. To live deliberately enough that your opinions are earned. And if you do that long enough, you won't need anyone to introduce you as an expert. The results will do that. See you next time.